Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's Heroes Connect Military to Manufacturing event, where we are continuing the conversation with another manufacturer who values your talent. Let me first introduce myself. My name is Katie. I'm a senior manager with the Heroes Make America program, and I will be moderating today's event. Today, we're highlighting a company called Cargill. I can probably guarantee most of you have never heard of Cargill, simply because we don't see their brand on the items that we consume every day, but more than likely, you've had one of their food ingredients in the products that you have normally, right? So you probably have interacted with their products. You just didn't even know it. They are a massive company with a strong presence in the food and beverage industry. So we do these events, these Heroes Connect events, not only introduce you all to a potential employer post your military career, but we want to connect you as a job seeker with employers who are also actively looking for military talent like yours. Most importantly, though, we aim to help our broader military community better understand the manufacturing industry itself, because frankly, if you don't know someone personally who works in manufacturing, it can be a very unknown industry as to how your skill sets are applicable. So that's why we do events like this, to talk through the industry. And this is a prime example of a subsector of that industry, that food and beverage sector, where we don't think about just how big of an impact they have on our lives, because it's just so normalized, in the food that we consume every single day. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Before we jump into today's event, let's review some quick housekeeping items. First off, you probably got that notification when you came into the meeting. The event is being recorded. We do send it out as part of an event recap email after the event. So because of that, please be sure you stay muted throughout the presentation, just to make sure that we have some minimal background noise. Lastly, although our mics are muted, I still encourage you to be an active participant. We live in the chat box, so use that chat feature during the presentation to drop in the questions that you have. We'll go ahead and answer those questions at the end of the presentation during the Q&A portion. You can throw them in the chat, but I will also invite you to come on live at that point if you want to come on live during that Q&A session to ask your question. But let's practice that chat box. If you guys can all locate it on your control panel, bring it up and drop in the location that you're planning to seek employment. So if that's a specific city and state itself, a region, go ahead and drop that in. That'll give our presenter some context of where you all are looking to job search. While you're doing that, if you're not familiar with Heroes Make America and our program, we are a DoD-approved SkillBridge and Army Career Skills program. We're open to transitioning service members, veterans, reservists, National Guardsmen, and military spouses. If you're military affiliated, come on through our program. We provide a variety of certification trainings, equipping our students for rewarding careers in the manufacturing and supply chain industry. You can see here our program managers and the 4 current training pathways that we offer, which are manufacturing operations, so overall manufacturing training, logistics, we have an airframe and power plant training, as well as industrial systems maintenance. We're going to drop in our contact information so you can connect with any of us if you have any questions. The last thing I want to be sure to mention, that in addition to our SkillBridge training offerings, we also host other events. Not just these weekly Heroes Connect events. We have a veteran learning series. We also do in-person and virtual career fairs. And so we actually have our next one tomorrow. So if you are in the Kansas region, so tomorrow, April 10th, we're going to have an in-person career fair at Fort Riley in Kansas. You can see here the employers who are currently registered for that event. So come on down if you're in the area. It's going to be a great event where you can network with different employers, both local, regional employers, and some of them are also national employers. All righty, without further ado, I do want to bring it on over to our featured company today, which is Cargill. First, we're going to watch a video, and then I'll pass it over to our presenters. I'm going to go ahead and pass it on over to our two presenters, Scott and Alex. The floor is yours.
Awesome, thanks. So first I'll introduce myself, Scott Fedor. I am the Senior Director of Continuous Improvement for our Animal Nutrition and Health business. I am relatively new at Cargill. I've been here a little over a year. I've got 30 years of combination of supply chain experience and military experience. Retired from the Navy after 30 years as a captain, 06 in the Navy, and now I'm enjoying my life working here for Cargill, nourishing the world, as you saw in the video. So, Alex.
Awesome. Alex Isper. I'm a Senior Director of Strategy Execution within our Procurement and Transportation group. So for us, procurement is everything from chemicals and ingredients we put into various food products all the way to parts and equipment that makes our plants run. And transportation is exactly what it sounds like. So everything from planes, trains, automobiles to get things going from one end of the world to the other.
And I'll explain a bit more about the animal nutrition space when we get in, because trying to understand or crack the nut that is Cargill is a very interesting thing to do. So you saw the diversity in terms of our products and our approach in that video. Let's go ahead and dive in and help you understand a little bit more about the company. All right, so overall, and to put it bluntly, we're the largest privately held company in the world, right? Most people don't know about us, as she pointed out, because we generally don't do a lot of products under our own label. We have a lot of things that are handled differently, and we touch the majority of the agricultural supply chain in the world at one place or another. We have 160,000 employees across 70 countries to 129 different markets. You can read it on here. Over 150 years ago, this company was started and it's continued to grow, and it's still a privately held company, which is very rare for companies of this size and scope. So it gives us flexibility sometimes to not be reactive to the market, but it also puts a lot of ownership responsibility on the families and the employees to make sure that we're doing the right thing for the world and the world's nutrition. So our purpose, very simply, nourish the world in a safe, responsible, and sustainable way. So, there are companies out there that talk sustainability. We live sustainability, not because we're trying to greenwash anything, honestly. It's because our entire purpose gets around providing food, being the agricultural supply chain for the world. And if we don't have sustainability, we will risk economic ruin and food scarcity and all the other things. So this is not something that we just tout. It's something we live because of the markets that we play in and what we do for the world. When we say our purpose drives everything we do, it truly does, because the safety and responsibility of food supply, the safety and responsibility of food for animals, the safety and responsibility of making sure the planet is sustainable so that we can continue to supply the agricultural commodities that we deal with is critical to what we do. Next slide.
Maybe I'll take one. As we look at our culture, really, our values are the enduring principles that help us realize that purpose Scott was telling us about. Our behaviors are the choices and actions that help us achieve our strategy. And what I like about these is they're simple, right? Like doing the right thing. Yep, want to do that all day. Putting people first. That starts with our front lines all the way to people in the corporate office. Actually caring for our people and reach higher. Like we're teams that want to win. We're in very competitive industries day in and day out, and we want to be on a winning team. Our behaviors, we want everyone around us to act as an owner. If you see something that's broke, go and fix it yourself. We want to celebrate a bias for action. Oftentimes it's easy in big companies to say, it's someone else's problem or I'll do it later. But, we want to celebrate people actually activating on opportunities. And the third is win as one Cargill. We're a big, complicated, sometimes messy company, as, a whole heck of a lot of companies are. But at the end of the day, we're on the same team, and we want to drive those behaviors day in and day out. I see Renee just dropped a career link in the chat. Absolutely looking forward to hearing more about what interests you guys on that. Maybe I'll take this next one. So we're organized across 3 enterprises. One is food. So that's everything from things like your beef, steaks, ground beef you get at your Walmarts, Costco's, Trader Joe's of the world, all the way to edible oils that McDonald's or Wendy's use to fry their fries, to sweeteners that go in your Coca-Cola and Pepsi products. Ag and trading, this is how we source commodities from our farmers so that we're then able to process and distribute them around the world. And our specialized portfolio includes the animal nutrition and health business that Scott alluded to a little bit earlier on, where he works. The integrated story across this is food sits at the heart of family, culture, and community. We provide innovative ingredients to branded products such as meat, eggs, alternative protein, salt, oils, cocoa, sweeteners that customers need to deliver the food and drinks people want. With our deep roots in agriculture and trading, we connect farmers and users of these grains and oilseeds through sourcing, processing, and distribution, while providing trading and risk management solutions. For these specialized areas like Scott works in, they serve unique customers and markets. It includes our animal nutrition and health business. It includes our bioindustrial application business. That's taking all the co-products that we get from processing these commodities we talk about and turning them into things like paints, inks, dielectric fluid. We also have a road safety business, so keeping cars running during the winter months in snowy places like Minnesota and Ohio, pretty critical work. And in general, we try to develop unique and innovative products and services to support our customers. Scott, I'll let you.
Yeah, so, just a few fun facts, things to think about, right? And I'm fascinated by all these industries in Cargill because, like I said, I've been here a little over a year, and I'm still learning, and every day I seem to find something new in these enterprises that just amazes me. So when you think about the food side, right, if I was to ask for a show of hands of how many people have ever eaten either a chicken nugget or an egg at McDonald's, I would hazard a guess that every one of you would have raised your hands, and every one of you would have eaten a Cargill chicken or a Cargill egg. We supply 88% of the beef that's sold through, Costco, Sam's Club, others. In households, we have an 88% penetration rate of beef buying. We process almost 40,000 head of cattle every day and almost 500,000 chickens per day for the nation's food supply. And at Thanksgiving time, 1 in 4 turkeys that's sold or consumed is a Cargill turkey. So when you just start looking at the food impact that the company has and where we play, and you don't even know it, you can see that the size and scope and scale that we're working with at Cargill in terms of what we do and how we do it. As you mentioned, specialized portfolio. So animal nutrition and health is the largest the largest of the businesses in our specialized portfolio business. And we pale in comparison to the size of food and ag. But every day we are feeding every species imaginable. We're making salmon feed or catfish feed. For
alligator food.
Alligator food. We are feeding everything from cows and pigs and horses, pet food. So if you go outside the United States and you're in a Purina branded food and you want to see Purina farm food, et cetera, that is Cargill food. So we play in so many places that are just tucked in, nooks and crannies. But I think the number I heard is between 2.5 and 3 billion people each day consume or are touched by a Cargill product. So that's a pretty impressive penetration in the globe. So go ahead, next slide. So talking a little bit about how we do it, right? Cargill likes to say we are the food supply chain. We are the agricultural supply chain of the world. Everything from sourcing and trading, getting commodity products, buying like I said, the heads of cattle, the chickens, acquiring the raw goods that turn into the soybean oils or the different plant oils that you hear about or see, all the way through, the manufacturing and storage in those activities, through transportation. I think at last count we had about 600 ships under contract carrying
at any given
time, give or take. 600 vessels around the globe are carrying Cargill products across the globe in the supply chain at any point in time. 2 to 3 2 to 3 times the size of the U.S. Navy is out there sailing with Cargill products on it. When we look at how we formulate feed, how we manufacture goods, our role to play in chocolate or coffee or soybeans or different grains, et cetera, all the way through delivering into the customers. So end products into third parties who sell, selling table salt, selling raw meats, selling bioindustrial ingredients that help to make road asphalt better, or to make cosmetics that people may apply in any given day. So there is such a variety of what we do, and it all ties to this global supply chain. And that's really what we view ourselves as, is a global supply chain company for the agricultural world.
All right, so maybe we'll talk a little bit about our customers. We're a customer-driven organization. We exist to serve our customers, and we actually live and breathe it. It starts with listening and caring so that we can anticipate and meet our customers' needs and actually innovate with purpose. We're at our customer side to help them overcome their biggest challenges and harness their greatest opportunities. This includes supporting crop farmers and livestock and aquaculture producers, supplying products like animal feed and supplements. It means we enable manufacturers to operate reliably and efficiently by providing everything from ingredients, materials, specialty products, biofuels, whatever's needed to keep things going. We also provide solutions to food service businesses. We've talked a little bit about Costco. You'll see our steaks there, as well as prepared meals and oils there as well. And as we look at supplying other retailers, it comes down to food and feed. If it's Tractor Supply Co. and it's animal feed, a lot of it's a Cargill product. If it's beef or chicken or eggs in Target, it's a Cargill product. And at the end of the day, we serve consumers with a large portfolio of branded products and solutions too. Truvia sweetener is a Cargill product. Diamond Crystal salt, Cargill product. So even though we don't play as big in some of the branding stuff as more your consumer packaged goods are, we're there as well. So yeah, it's a little bit of a well-kept secret about the areas we play in. Got anything to add, or do you want to?
No, I would just say that the reality is, when you think about it, even if you're not buying a Cargill food product, there's a very strong possibility that the food product you are buying, even from somebody else, was fed by Cargill. So, the animal nutrition space, the supply of the grains and trading of the global commodity market, chances are somehow, some way, it touched Cargill at one point in time. So, yeah. Awesome. So talking about helping our customers win, right? There's a wide variety of things that we do. We transform raw materials into finished goods. So this goes into the heart of the manufacturing processes. And we do have hundreds of manufacturing locations around the globe. So making food and ingredients, making animal nutrition, making bioindustrial, creating and blending biofuels, right? These are just some of the many different places that we do the transformation side. But then we have a massive business. I'd say almost half of our business or more is involved in just moving and delivering products and sourcing the products to where they need to be. As I mentioned, the global shipping world, we're one of the largest shipping fleets in the world. So when you look at roads, rail, rivers, however we're doing it, a lot of these commodities, you have to move them, and the only way to move them is on the water. So we are heavily on rivers and oceans. But we are just as heavily on final, last mile type deliveries, road and rail, et cetera. We cut our teeth. We pride ourselves on a highly professional, highly dedicated group of global traders, financial people who understand the ins and outs of global commodity management and these spaces that we play in. So driving data-driven insights, driving our market expertise, knowing how to manage risks. Right now, we're dealing in a world that has a significant amount of risk and uncertainty. I don't know if you ever heard the term VUCA, V-U-C-A. It's actually a term that was coined at the Army War College in Pennsylvania, but that stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. We live in a world of VUCA. So our expertise in risk management, financial solutions drives value for Cargill, and it drives value for our consumers and our customers to make sure that they have safe and sustainable food sources. And then we are very heavily in R&D. I don't know what the last count. I've heard it was in the thousands of patents, but I have absolutely no idea.
An insane number.
It's an insane number of patents and intellectual property pieces that have been developed over, you saw 159 years of Cargill's, existence. So we have a lot of smart people who love to do a lot of things, all revolving around nourishing the world.
Maybe heading to the next slide. Yeah, I mean, on this one, I think you see the distribution of our employee base. I mean, we're global operations. That 160,000 employee base is spread out all throughout. But I mean, just to give some color on like what these people actually do, because it's big and complex. We have colleagues wrangling cattle. We have colleagues feeding salmon. We have colleagues crushing palm fruit in Indonesia. And at the end of the day, we've got all over the world colleagues helping farmers finance their operations, manage risks. We've talked a little bit about shipping. We ship over 200 million tons of food and cargo across every ocean every year.
And when we talk about the differences globally, you could be dealing with major manufacturers of chocolate or major, brands and store chains, Target, Costco, et cetera, in the U.S. And then you can turn around and go to a individual pig farmer in Vietnam where he has 4 pigs and he's doing business with Cargill to try to grow that to 6 pigs and continue to build his own local market and his own ability to feed his family. I was blessed with an opportunity to tour our Mexico and our Chile facilities a few months ago. And, in Mexico, seeing 3rd generation store owners selling Cargill products to feed animals in central Mexico, and the pride that they take in just trying to be able to not only have a family business, but build their enterprises within that market. It was awesome. So we are everywhere you could possibly be because people eat everywhere you could possibly be. It's as simple as that. Go ahead.
In the core of what we do, right, more than 60% of our employees work in plants. And, that's the foundation. Every day, our employees deliver on our purpose and drive innovative solutions. And as we care for our people, they in turn care for our customers. Our employees help address some of the biggest challenges you've heard a little bit about. They help our farmers, ranchers, and producer partners raise the food that feeds billions of us every day. And, I think we'll go into it in the next couple slides. Like, we constantly have opportunities, right? Like, Scott and I were joking that if we took a snapshot of the current job postings in this space, they'll change every day because we have operations spread all throughout the U.S. and our needs are constantly evolving. And I think that's one of the exciting things. But it does always it makes it difficult to take a snapshot in time and say, here's the opportunities, because the honest answer is the opportunities are kind of endless here.
We'll show a picture of that, but yeah, to your point, Alex, right? People will be like, well, what jobs do I apply to? What do you have open? It's like, it's going to change every day. On a company of this size, you simply can't predict where it's going to be. And the reality is the market changes every day. So what we need today might be something we need different in the next couple of weeks as we see how this, global trade situation unfolds. Things might change in terms of where we need different resources as we look at how we do things across the globe. But it's never going to change what we do as a mission and what we do as a company. So there's always going to be a need. It's just a question of timing and location. So next screen. We've already talked a little bit about some of this, but when you think about all of the different areas that you may be touching Cargill products in your life, everything, I found it interesting, the coatings for medications, right? Every time you take a pill and it's got those special coatings to help it go down faster, or make it not dissolve in your mouth or not taste funny. It was like, oh, well, that's a Cargill product. I didn't realize how much of a penetration we had in that space. Being able to think about how you do starches for paper. So when paper mills make the paper, they have to use a starch to try to bind it and try to get that paper to glue itself together, all those fine pieces of fiber. And that starch comes typically from Cargill or related type activities. So the places that we touch people's lives is crazy when you start getting into the details of what we do. The food is actually easier to explain in some cases than the other areas of, low chemicals. The oils we use in paints are frequently bio oils because if you use, petroleum-based oils, they have, higher contents of, carcinogenic materials. So they're trying to move into bio oils. That's safer for chemicals and paints. So great opportunities here, continuing to grow as the science continues to expand. Next slide.
So it's a little bit of an eye chart, but it kind of shows the diversity of the locations where we're hiring at any given moment. So this is just looking at it by state. I saw plenty of things in the chat around Texas. We have pretty decent sized operations in Round Rock and DFW, a little bit in Waco. There's no shortage of opportunities there. Have other big manufacturing hubs in the Kansas-Nebraska corridor, but this changes every day. Ohio, we have a ton of opportunities, what I'd say is, at any given moment, look on the job page.
Yep.
Look for types of opportunities that may excite you, and if it's in one state, it excites you, and it's in one state, and that's not an area where you're looking. Undoubtedly, in a couple months, there will be a similar opportunity in another state. I think it's best to just continue looking and engaging in those conversations.
All right. And if you go to the next slide, this has just an example. And I want to reiterate what you saw in the previous slide. These are examples, right? You could go out there right now and see that these are, it's not open now. Or, I found this other thing instead. This is a fluid market. It's a fluid changing thing. So because of our size and our scope, it's impossible for us sitting here at the center to tell you. But this is just an example of 5 of the positions that we pulled down as we were building this deck to try to say, okay, well, what do we have? For example, we have, you see there's 2 that have cohorts listed. So these are operations management associates. These are the opportunities to come in essentially into a training or development type role that give you an opportunity to spend 6 to 12 or 18 months, depending on the individual program, learning about food or protein production or learning about grain handling, et cetera. But then there's full-time opportunities. The reliability coordinator is a good example. We do have a lot of operations in Ohio in both food and animal nutrition. So when you start thinking about, okay, well, I've shift supervisor roles, or I've got reliability roles on making sure we have maintenance practices and routine uptimes and how we're doing a standard maintenance or reliability type situations to keep our equipment running or to manage repair cycles. There are a lot of opportunities, but they're going to change day to day, week to week, month to month. We just encourage you to be flexible. And as Alex said, if you find something that excites you, my learning over 30 years in the military and 30 years of balancing that with some civilian life back and forth, because I was predominantly reserves with multiple deployments and recalls to active duty for 12 to 18 months, right? Be flexible. Look for things that interest you. Don't just look for jobs. Look for things that absolutely interest you. If a job strikes you as interesting, take a look, keep pursuing it, and keep, follow up on it. I know sometimes you just need to get a job, but these are places that they're going to change so quickly. Don't just jump on jobs. Jump on things that you think, wow, that's cool. That would be exciting. I'd really be interested in finding out more about that and pursue that. So.
Yeah, and the only other thing I'd add is those operations management associate cohorts, we've had a lot of good success placing HMA people into those roles,
yeah.
Right? So I think that is just a great way to get your foot in the door, understand our core plant operations, gives you a glide path to being an operations supervisor in short order. I can't say enough about those programs for helping people transition.
Absolutely. All right, next slide. So why don't you take this? You've been a little bit longer than I have, so give some kudos to the group.
Yeah, so Scott and I both sit on the board of what we call VMSN, so it is our business resource group. It was founded in 2014 and really established a strategy focusing on hiring, supporting, developing veteran talent and what that meant. We've won a lot of awards, but actually what I'm most proud about is that first bullet point, 36 people hired through HMA over the past 4 years, right? Like, we believe in the talent that this group has, and it can be a competitive differentiator for us, right? So as much as possible, we want to lean into finding opportunities for people on this call to work at Cargill. I think you've heard from Scott and I, look, we're passionate about the work, we're passionate about the company, we're passionate about the impact. And, you know, the way the work gets done and the company continues to, you know, really put great points on the board is through great people. So we're always looking to bring people into the fold.
I'm going to add to that. Like I said, 1 year, little over a year I've been here. I came from another company that we'll go unmentioned, but was a very large company that had a very active veterans network. Had put out goals to say they were going to hire X number of hundred or X number of thousand veterans over the course of certain periods of years. And while those numbers look great, I'm a firm believer in quality over quantity. I believe getting the right veterans in here, the right people with the right talent and experiences are force multipliers. And you guys have all heard that term before. I believe each person we bring in who finds that right position, conducts that military to civilian transition, gets into that right role that fits them, when you hit that, that is a force multiplier. It is a multiplier in terms of what you bring to Cargill. It is also a multiplier in terms of your ability to influence future successful military to civilian transitions and be able to have an impact on other service members, other veterans trying to transition into successful roles. The reality is a lot of people don't transition into jobs that last when they come out of the military because they jump on the job instead of looking for that fit. So getting that right fit of the right people in the right role, that is a force multiplier on both sides, both the military side and the civilian side. So we highly encourage you to connect, to apply for what you want to. You'll get Alex's and my contact information. We're happy to connect with anybody. You can find us on LinkedIn as well. But the reality is we want to find the right fit for you, and we want you to find the right fit for you.
We want you to have a career at Cargill, not just a job.
Yep. Awesome. So, we're 34 minutes. You said 40 minutes, so we did a little faster than you were looking for, but
we're a little excited.
Let's go. What questions do you have?
No worries, and I'm sure the questions will come in. So let me bring up my video real quick, and I'm going to take down the slide deck so we can see each other. For our participants, if you have any questions, this is a great time to type them on out, put them in the chat box, and I'll read them off. Or if you have a question that you want to come on live, you're more than welcome to use the raise hand feature. So if you look at your control panel, it should be on there. It says raise hand. You click it, and we'll get you in order. But I have some questions to kick us off. Let's talk about those positions specifically, because you said that there's a lot of success with, maybe our military talent getting into those operation management associate roles. I know some questions my students usually have is it full-time and is it paid? It's usually two questions, right? Because it's kind of like a training program, right? Can you talk a little bit about that aspect?
Yes and yes is the short answer. Yes, it's full-time. Yes, it's paid.
You go into cohorts. The cohorts are full-time jobs as paid development program members, right?
Yes.
Do they normally stay at that location, or is there a high chance of relocation? Is it kind of like you've got to go to your training in this location, then you get relocated, PCS to your permanent position, or do you stay?
I mean, I'll speak to at least the experiences I've heard and seen on this. You are placed in a location based off of mutual interest. For that time, whether it's 6 to 12 months for one program or 12 to 18 months for the other, then you have the opportunity to opt in at that location or explore opportunities at other locations. So, it's a little bit of a best of both worlds there.
Perfect. Yeah, and I know some folks are looking to not PCS anymore. They want to end up in one location, but some are still open to that opportunity, which is
I
great, right?
understand. By the time you hit this point, frequently you're like, I'm done moving around. I don't want to move around. I want to settle down somewhere. We respect that, but it has to be a mutual peace, right?
Yeah. Definitely. Perfect. So then I already see a question come in, so I'll jump over to that and make sure we hit them, and then I'll continue with my questions. So Grant had asked, is networking crucial to obtaining a job at Cargill?
I'm going to say networking is crucial to getting any job. So, has anybody ever heard of the PIE model? I wonder. I don't know. PIE stands for three things: performance, image, and exposure. And at a previous company I've worked for, we taught very well that performance is your ticket to the game. Performance is what makes sure you can get to keep your job. But if you want to promote and move up, or if you want other opportunities, that comes from image and exposure. How do you carry yourself? How do you present yourself? Do you talk professionally? Do you dress professionally? Are you seen as someone who has that persona that says, yeah, there's somebody I want to move into other opportunities? Collectively, performance and image usually account for about 20%, give or take, of what gets people promoted. The last one's exposure. Some people might say, oh, look, it's who you know. No, it's who knows you. Because when somebody knows you, who has opportunities, and they know that you're a performer, and they know you have a good brand image, you carry yourself well, they want you to be a part of their team, and they say, hey, I need that person. This is what I'm looking for. So if you don't have the exposure, if you don't have the network, you can't get pulled in that next position. So it's not about who you know, it's about who knows you. So I don't know if that helps necessarily answer the question, but there is not a job in the world that doesn't have a networking component to it if you ultimately want to be successful. Now, does that mean you have to have networked with a bunch of people in Cargill to get that first entry job? No, that's based on the qualification process and everything else through the applications. But if you want to continue to advance anywhere in the world, you need to network. You need supply chain and work life is a team sport.
Definitely. I mean, we always follow that same model of networking is crucial. So use these guys, right? We just dropped in their contact information. They're your two first folks at Cargill. If you don't know anyone else at Cargill, we did drop in their contact information, their LinkedIn URL, and their emails. They're veterans themselves as well. They get it, right? Alex and Scott are both veterans and can help bridge that gap between, your military terminology and the Cargill world. They can help give some of that guidance. So definitely use them. But I agree, Scott, networking is crucial, and you can apply, right, and get a job, but networking helps give you more right? Push you to the next level of getting the position. I have a follow-up question for the cohorts. So the question is, how often are those cohort opportunities, do they come up? Is it like once a year, all of a start date at once? Is it fluid? And then can you talk a little bit more about what you'll be doing in the position? Is it training towards a leadership? So I guess start dates, are they fluid? And then is that position specifically geared towards like a leadership position at what level?
For sure. So I think the cohorts are generally meant for you to start during a general period of time, usually in the fall for each of those years, which is why you saw the 25 and 26 cohorts. Those get posted every year. They get filled every year. Now, depending on, is it boom cycle or is it bust cycle for us? Because like we're in super cyclical markets. Sometimes there's a few openings. Sometimes there's a ton of openings. So know that going into it. But the goal there is, right, everyone who's hired, we want to give them an opportunity to start on their operations leadership journey. So it is an investment. So I saw this comment, training into a leadership position. Absolutely. The goal over that 6 to 18 months, depending on which business you're in, is really to give you the full set of exposure so that you can be an effective operations supervisor, which means you're going to do some work on the lines. You're going to learn a little bit about maintenance. You're going to get an understanding around food safety and quality, particularly if you're in our meats business, because that's the tooling you need to be successful. So don't think about it as school. Think about it as true on-the-job training.
And the beginning of that question talked about tons of change in the job market within the company, right? I've joined the company a little over a year ago. I've said that many times. I've seen it firsthand, having come in. No joke. I came from a lot of other public companies, big companies, as I mentioned, Fortune 10 level companies. There is changes in the job market everywhere. It's part of the economics of our world today. The things I tell team members, the things I coach other veterans on, the things I coach students, I also teach with the University of Denver. And I will tell you that the rules are pretty simple. One, whatever job you have, do it to the best of your ability, because the best way to lose your job is not do it. So keep doing your job to the best of your ability, wherever you're at. Two, always stay ready and stay flexible. Keep your LinkedIn profile up to date. Keep your resumes up to date. You know, you got to do the right thing for your family and your life. And those two rules go hand in hand. So there's no guarantee in any company in the world that you're going to have a job for life. You want a job for life, you always make yourself hireable by anybody who's looking, because you perform. So it goes back to the pie model approach again.
Just dropping all kinds of nuggets of knowledge today, Scott. Love it. Follow up on so Operation Training, right? This is a training program. But for those who are looking for just direct hire into a position, whether it's, you know, mid-level leadership or senior leadership, are there direct hires into leadership positions from external candidates? Do we see that happen in Cargill, where these folks can just go straight into a leadership?
Absolutely. With a company of 160,000 people globally, there's probably nothing that doesn't happen at some point in time. Yes. So while Alex mentioned, right, we've seen success with people coming into the cohort style development programs, where you can come in and spend, 6 to 12 or 12 to 18 months and become a shop supervisor or manufacturing supervisor or some sort of a front-end supervisor in a manufacturing facility. The reality is we are always looking for people, and we value leadership, we value experience, we value diversity, we value all of those things because they make our workforce stronger. But there's no right answer. If there's something you're excited about, apply.
No,
Yeah, and I'd say in general, our job descriptions are written so that you can take them at face value, right? Like, a lot of them have requirements around, if you want a leadership role, 3, 5, 7 years, depending on seniority of experience leading people.
Right.
It's not saying leading people in a beef plant in Calgary. It's leading people, right? And like, we mean it.
We do. And look, the reality is there's a lot of veterans who struggle to try to figure out how to translate their military experiences into ways to describe it to civilian hiring managers. There's a lot of resources out there to help you do that these days. And, we're also happy to talk. If you want to talk about those roles, shoot us a message. But the reality is there's ways for you to do that. And military leadership is valued leadership here.
No, I love that. So that's what we call a military ready company, not just military friendly, but military ready to hire. Breaking down those barriers on the job posting, things like that. Great conversation. I think a lot of folks might be interested in those types of positions, but I know we have folks who are interested in all kinds of other types of positions. Can we talk a little bit about, maybe at the plant level, what are some of the big functional areas that these folks can go into? I'm thinking, operations, production, maintenance, kind of the different categories of different skill sets. Can you talk about maybe some of those and maybe talk about positions in those? I know both of you are heavy on the supply chain side. Maybe talk about what are some positions they can look for on that side within the plant or the supply chain itself? Does that make sense? Kind of talk about the diversity of positions that are available?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm happy to take first crack and you can chime in. So we call these capabilities manufacturing and supply chain. So it's everything from your frontline operations to your food quality people to the people who are making sure that our plant people leave safe every single day, all the way to your supply chain. So the people who are planning what you buy, what you ship, when you ship it, handle the customer service. We have a variety of functions in addition to that, from HR to finance to IT. So there's no shortage of opportunities in those spaces. As I look at it, just think about what your transferable skill set is, articulate it, and think about like what we have hiring at all different levels all the time. So think about like what your experience is, where you want to go, and it's almost a little bit of a matchmaking we need to do around your skill set, your experience, and the postings at any given time that may or may not interest you. So I mean, like that's a very politician-y answer, but the truth is like we're hiring at all levels all the time. If you're interested in transportation, please reach out. We have all sorts of roles around transportation coordinator, people who handle shipment execution, people who go and strategically source our shipments, you know, people who look at what our mix is, whether it's rail or barge or truck, what's the most efficient way to ship our products. So like anything under the sun you can imagine in the supply chain world, we've got.
If and I'm sure if you haven't gone onto that careers.cargill.com link, right? I highly encourage you to do so. But you're going to see career areas up at the top. And as he said, I mean, let's face it, there are roles that nobody's going to be qualified to apply for coming out of the veteran space, right? If you're looking at research and development and technical roles on how you do certain things in our food research and design or our animal nutrition,
It's super niche.
it's super niche. It's nothing you're going to be able to do, right? I wouldn't be able to do it. Nobody would unless you have a PhD in food science from some university somewhere, right? But if you're looking for administration, you're looking at supply chain logistics, you're looking at customer service, you're looking at wanting to be in a plant manufacturing operations. If you're looking at environmental health and safety, let's say you're somebody who came out and you have an interest in trying to make sure that we follow OSHA regulations, or you're somebody who really dug the idea of, hey, I love the military regulations. They made me really happy. I liked being like cut and dry. This is what I like to do. Sounds crazy, but there's people who really like that thing. Then those are ways and places that you want to look for those opportunities. There's no one flavor of anything here. 60% roughly of the employees we have work in manufacturing locations, but those manufacturing locations have receiving, shipping, purchase order, customer service, manufacturing execution, quality management, environmental health and safety, administration. There's a ton of roles in a manufacturing operation. It's not just a frontline production worker.
And people jump around. I think that's the other thing I'd emphasize.
And depending on what business you get in, I mean, our food manufacturing plants might have, you know, a few hundred people in them. Some of our larger, crush plants might have a few hundred people in them. And then you go to one of our animal nutrition and health plants, and they might have 25 or 30. So the size of the plant, based on what it is we're making and where we're making it and how our operations work, that's going to drive. Maybe you might have to be really cross-functional and be a little bit of jack of all trades. Maybe you just focus in one area and then you move around to other areas as you gain experience. So you just don't know. There's no one answer.
With a massive company, there's a lot of opportunity. Like that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Would you recommend if someone is pretty geographically bound, right? So some folks need to be in a certain area. Would it make sense to get your foot in the door just because the opportunity from within might be more once you're hired? You know what I mean? Like, so should some folks look at positions, get their foot in the door, and maybe work towards a more senior position, or not? You know what I mean? Do we agree?
I don't know if there's an easy way to answer that, right? My first approach was always getting your foot in the door is better than not getting your foot in the door. All right. So that's a pretty simple concept. Getting a job is better than not having a job. Getting the right job to me is the harder part, right? Generally speaking, if you get a job with people you like to work with a culture that you love to do, then be involved in, and values that match yours, so what you do in your job role, you can be patient on, because typically you get opportunities to change that. So after 2 or 3 years, you're going to get other promotion opportunities or other ways to prove yourself. So if you're in a culture you like, with people you like being with every day, stick it out. If you get into a job where you love what you do, but you hate who you're doing it with, you need to move anyway, because you're not going to change that culture, right? So getting your foot in the door and getting into a company that you really want to be a part of, to me, would be more important than knowing that you're in that exact job you wanted to have. because it's the culture that's really going to make your day-to-day life either good or not.
I'd also say there's an element of you don't actually know what a job is like until you're doing the job, right? So like you can hold out for the perfect job for forever and never get anywhere. I mean, we spent a good amount of time early on talking about, how much we value people, how we're a people first culture, right? Like when you're here and you're on the team, we want to invest in you, period, full stop, right? And like you're never going to experience that until you're in the door.
You guys gave a great answer to a not eloquent question, so thank you for saving me on that one. I do have a follow-up. So this is another kind of like technical, geographically bound, but it's more about application timelines. Okay, so for some folks, as you all transition out of the military at one point. Sometimes, these folks are still 6 months out from actually being able to start their position. So do you recommend going ahead and start applying? Is there opportunities to hold start dates, or should they wait until closer to actual, like, starting their job timeline? What do you recommend on how far out to apply?
My recommendation would be to apply, honestly, because first of all, the application is a whole process, right? If you're of interest to the hiring manager and they really have their heart set on you, they're like, wow, this is the right person for the job. It's usually already a vacant job, and if they had to gap it for an extra little bit of time, they could usually do that and manage through that versus constantly searching for who they want. That would be one piece, one aspect of it. The second one would be if you apply now, the job's open now. You don't know that the job's open going to be 3 months from now or 6 months from now. And even if you apply and they say, well, we just can't wait. We need somebody in June and you're not going to be available until December. I love you, man. I love you, but you're just not the fit right now. You've networked, you've built some, credibility. The next time you apply or the next time they're looking for somebody, you might be somebody who has an opportunity to be interested in. So if you're transitioning and you have some vagueness around when that time is, but there's a job you think you want to apply for, apply.
Love it. I know, some folks are several months out, and that's an unknown part of it. We do have a few minutes left, and I see.
I would add, Katie, the process can take multiple months anyway.
True.
Right? So it's not as if, like, I put in my application today and you're going to be interviewing tomorrow and, hired at the end of the month, right? I've seen these processes take 4 or 5 months, even just to go through an exercise of getting people onboarded, depending on what the role is, right?
Would you generally see maybe hourly positions be filled much quicker than maybe some of the salaried positions, just as a general rule of thumb?
Generally speaking, yeah, absolutely. Generally speaking, that would be a good rule, but it's not a 100% rule.
And I'd say the asterisk being, yes, that may be true, but also that's where you have the most turnover and most frequency, right? So if you get on a hiring manager's radar for a role and it doesn't work out for another 6 months or so, there's a good chance that in 6 months that there will be another opening for a very similar role in that same plant.
Correct.
Perfect. Oh, my friend who had his hand raised, Tim Evans, I believe. You may have raised it, but if you want to come on live, feel free to come on live and ask your question. We still have a few minutes.
Yeah, you may have already kind of answered it when he went on the second caveat on it. So not so much 6 months down the line, but more like 2 months down the line. There's no opportunities in the current area, but since jobs are constantly popping up and down, if an opportunity comes up, you kind of already said just go ahead and apply for it, even if you're not able to start employment immediately. Just go ahead and put the application out there and see where it goes from there. Because the hiring process could take a while anyway. And that's kind of where I'm at, because I'm one of those ones where I know in general where I'm going to be at, where I'm targeting at. I know in general when I'm going to be out and I can start employment, but I don't know anything for set in stone. So my applying for career opportunities right now is kind of very up and down, because I don't really know when I can start work. I know theory when I can start, but not in reality.
So Timothy, I'm going to tell you and everybody else, I can tell you you can't get hired for a job you didn't apply for. And I can tell you you can always say no. So if somebody makes you an offer and you're like, it can't work right now, you can say no. And nobody takes offense at saying no because it's the nature of the hiring process, right? So if you apply and it's not the right time, it's not the right time. If you apply 5 times over and it's the 5th time's the charm and you finally get hired that time, focus on where you want to work, what role you want, and just keep plugging. But you can't get hired for a job you didn't apply for, so apply.
So one follow-up question on that one specifically. We were talking about the salary positions versus the wage positions and how long each one of those typically in theory will stay open. I'm trying to figure out what's a better way to word this. Do salary positions generally stay open longer for you to do those to apply for those positions, and what is the frequency in your experience that those positions become available and open for, or is it literally it's a shot in the dark and you just kind of hope for the best?
Roll the dice. I've seen positions be open for 6 months. I've seen because they haven't found the person they want. I've seen positions open for a week and close.
Yep. You don't know.
Oh.
Probably depends on
And
popularity of that location as well. So some of the more rural locations maybe they can't find the talent in that area. So that also could be a factor, right?
Well, in some ways, Katie, it can also depend on if they open the position and they get 500 applicants in the first 5 days, and they're like, okay, well, we're going to close the position because we've got so many applicants, we're just good. Or if they open the position and they get 5 applications the first 5 months, then they're like, okay, well, we're going to keep looking. So
it's finding the right person, but you don't know hypothetically going into any of these processes how long they'll take to find the right person for the right role.
I've been a homeowner for many years in my life, and I've had to sell many homes. And the reality is, at the end of the day, I only need one buyer. So it doesn't matter how many people come through my house. I need one person to buy my house because I can't sell it to 10 people. We need one person to find that we want for that job, who wants that job, and then matchmaking happens, and then you're good. That could happen with 500 people, or it could happen with 5. We just don't know.
I think that's great advice. I love that. So hopefully, Tim, that answers your question. I know we hate it, but we're already almost out of time. So thank you to all of our students who asked questions. Thank you to Alex and Scott for all your wisdom regarding Cargill and the process and just being a veteran yourself and going through it. Do either of you have any final thoughts to share with the group before we go ahead and wrap it up for today?
My final thought would be simple. The military-civilian transition can be hard. It can be challenging. You're going to have points in time that you are just going to be completely down, and there's others you're going to be on a complete high. So flipping the roller coaster ride. Think of it as basic training. Think of it as, indoctrination. Think of it as plebe summer. Think of it as whatever thing brought you into the military. When you were making that transition from your civilian experience into the military, you went through every up and down that you had to deal with then. It's the same process in reverse. It's not going to be smooth. It's going to be chaotic. There's sometimes going to be hurry up and waits. There's sometimes going to be highs. There's going to be lows. Just keep plugging. Just keep pushing, right? You'll land and you'll be fine.
Alex, any final thoughts from you?
No, I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. I think there's so many reasons not to apply. There's so many reasons not to reach out to people. You need to apply. You need to reach out to people. That's the only way to make this work.
How about that networking? Who knows you, right? And then also not getting discouraged. If you apply once, don't get the job, apply again, plug at it and keep the grind going. Eventually something will stick. So thank you both for being with us today, giving all this wonderful advice. I think Cargill can be a great opportunity for a lot of these folks, just purely because you guys have so many locations and so many opportunities that these folks are going all over the place. So definitely look at their career page, keep an eye on it, look at it weekly. things are going to change. Make sure that you explore that website, keep an eye on it. Like I said, reach out to Alex and Scott. They're here to help with any questions that you have. So connect with them. We drop their information to the chat. Make sure you connect with the Heroes Make America team. We're also here to help, especially our students. Audrey Clarkson, your placement manager, is a great resource when it comes to applying to different positions. And then last but not least, let's continue the conversation with still in the food and beverage industry, but specifically with the beverage industry. Next week, we're going to have Niagara Bottling come on and talk about their opportunities on April 16th at 3 o'clock Eastern. So thank you all for being here today, but that's a wrap. So go enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. We'll see you next time.